Nidavellir. This is a game of tactical, strategic dwarven drafting. You are recruiting heroes from one of 3 taverns each round in order for them to join your army. It's going to take your cunning, your wit, as well as knowing what the other people at the table are doing in terms of their army in order to come out on top. In this game, you will come across many compatriots that will help you in your quest. Warriors, hunters, miners, blacksmiths, and explorers, all with different distinctions and strengths to help you maximize the capabilities of your army. Now, offerings will need to be had to gain the trust of these dwarven heroes. Recruit enough, and you'll be blessed by a special champion. Be aware, though, that the royal treasury runs deep. Your competitors may decide to reach to the depths of their own pockets as well in order to swoop in and outbid the services of these humble folk from you and instead into their own service. So let's talk. Nidavellir. So this is a game, again, that most people aren't going to be familiar with. I've had this game for about 5 months now, and this game takes the typical trope of fantasy heroes fighting a mythical dragon to a different side than you're used to seeing. What you're doing in this game is the evil Fafnir dragon has awoken, and the dwarves have tasked you with coming up with the best army in order to fight him off, and you are competing against your fellow recruiters, if you will, for lack of a better term, to create a better army than them. And this does this through mechanisms you've seen before, but not quite in this manner. Each turn, you are going to be drafting. And so everyone is familiar with drafting nowadays. But this takes a little bit of a spin and a twist on this draft. Players in this draft are going to be given coins like these to start off with. And you're all going to start off with the same numbered coins. And what you're going to be doing is you're actually going to be incorporating a bid system into the draft that I mentioned already, where the highest numbered coin is going to get to draft the card they want from the selected cards that are in that round or turn first. And then you're going to do the second turn, the third turn, and then the whole round will be done. Why is that unique? Because each of the various characters or dwarves that you're going to be drafting have different attributes, different stats to a minor degree, and different colors. And so how you collect those colors then affects your endgame scoring. Because similarly to Seven Wonders, where you have different colors giving you different types of bonuses or ways to score sets, this is going to do the same. Some are linear, some are exponential, some are the sum. And so you're going to be doing that differently as well. Now, here's the caveat, is that, the question with these types of games, with the set collections, with causing scoring, if you will, is that why would you just not focus then on one set and ignore everything else? Well, this game takes a clever premise to that. It says only when you're able to recruit all 5 different colored heroes are you able to draft a champion. And the champions also have their own colors, but they also come in neutrals, all of which give you drastically different bonuses and play off of the different set collections you may either be going for or you may decide to shift your focus on. The game is played relatively quickly. In fact, you speed through it and you, again, like more of a Euro-style game, seem to not to be able to do everything you want to do before the final card is drawn. There is a phase 1 and a phase 2 of the dwarven heroes that you are drafting from. When phase 1 ends, there is a bonus realm. So if you have the most of a certain color, you're going to get a special champion or a special bonus on top of things. So specialization is going to help you, but diversity is going to do the same. So how you divvy that up drastically can affect other people that are going for similar things, or it can drastically affect what you want to do going forward. There is the potential for hate drafting in this game, depending on how keen and how aware you are to the other people at the table, or how your group likes to play in general. This is a very streamlined, very easy to teach game, but there is a lot of iconography up front, and so there is a slight learning curve when it comes to that. The artwork itself is fine. It's, very good detail. It's very black and white. You have a plethora of these types of cards, but you can already see, just with the small amount of cards that I'm showing you, the iconography that's starting to show up. And so some of those go with the set collection, some of those go with the hero bonuses. And learning those in your first game or two probably is the biggest challenge. The game itself is relatively intuitive once it hits the table and you play through a round or two. So you go, Chris, well, is that it? This seems relatively straightforward. Why would I buy this over something else? So the other twist that they put on this game is, I mentioned that bidding system a little bit ago, right? Where you have these coins, and these coins are, all starting off as the same. So here's the twist in this game that makes it much more strategic rather than just purely a tactical, what am I getting in front of me each turn by turn, round by round in terms of drafting. Those coins that I mentioned earlier. You start off with more coins than the amount of bidding slots you have. You also start off with one very special coin. And this coin is special because if you look at the other side is a 0. Why is that important? Because I love this because you don't even have to be able to read once you get this game to the table. It actually tells you what to do on the icon itself there. That means that when you play this coin as one of your bids, obviously you're going to be going last because lowest number goes last. Now, why would you ever do this? Especially, Chris, if I'm trying to get the set collection that I want and other people are going to hate draft and steal the cards that I need first. Well, because what happens then is after you play this, you look at the chips you have remaining, and you are able to take the sum of the chips that you have remaining that have not been used in the bid and trade them in for the sum total of what they are. So let's say I have a 4 and a 5 coin that I do not use this round, which may be my higher ones at the beginning of the game. But all of a sudden, I trade one of my 4 or 5 in for a 9, the sum of them instead. So let's say I ditch the 4 and now I have a 9. Now I may have the highest coin out there for a round or two. So I am going to be able to get whatever I want going forward. Now, the trick is, when do you do that? How do you time it? And you can continue to do it even with the ones that you get in the first place. I can combine it in the next round and get a 9 plus 5, which is a 14. If I'm going to double up and try and get really ahead. But I'm going to sacrifice my card choice in the meantime. And are you willing to do that? And I've never seen a mechanism with these coins quite like that. Now, again, why is that important? Because you're choosing to optimize that way. And like I said, it's always a race and a strategic, do I have enough time to do everything I want? And the fact of the matter is, no, you don't. The first time we played this game, all of a sudden that deck was done. And we were like, holy cow, where did all these cards go? Because playing, especially with more people, you go through the deck faster. And you would think the biggest part of this game that you might be worried about is, are the factions balanced? If you think of Seven Wonders for a second, let's go back to that because that's a good example. The problem with Seven Wonders is, in a lot of the games, whether it's dual or just the regular version, not many times do you see games won with science or war. I mean, they're good, they're elements that are used, but I just don't see them in the larger scheme of things, and this is my small microcosm talking, of course. Someone out there can prove me wrong. There's always the exception to the rule, and there's always just, that sort of thing. But they're not nearly as prevalent as the use of the other cards in the game. And that was my big concern. If you have 5 different sets in this that all collect slightly differently, are they going to be balanced? If one person on a 5-player game goes for each one, Is it going to be close? Is there just going to be a massive blowout? Is there going to be a meta strategy that immediately evolves and everyone's going to go for this strategy? Like there are in some worker placement games. Like this is the route you have to go to optimize things in your worker placements. There's some of those out there. There isn't with this game. They are all equally viable in my playtime. So the fact that they have done a good job in balancing this as well just makes it all the more appealing. The theme is great too. I think the Norse mythology theme is vastly underused. You know, I've got Yggdrasil right behind me, and I love that too. It's the same Norse pantheon that people are finally starting to recognize, as opposed to all the other pantheons that have sort of reigned over the Western culture, you know, in terms of the game scene and the mythology most often used. If that doesn't pique your interest at this point, and you're going, well, this is a one-off, this is a game that's not going to get any legs because it's not going to get any support. The publisher, GRRE Games, which I believe is a French company, has already put out the expansion for this game as well. Thingvellir. Say what you will about the name. But it's adding one more element to the game and more variety and more variability. So the replayability is already going to be through the roof. Where is the downside on this game? Well, like I said, if you don't like drafting, this game is not going to be for you. This game has won me over on the drafting element of things, and I say that as someone who does not like drafting in a lot of other games. Seven Wonders, meh. Seven Wonders Duel, even, a little better, but still, it is what it is. Blood Rage. I couldn't stand it in Blood Rage as well, and that in combination with Area Control, it was two of things that I'm just not a fan of, but as particularly some of the drafting was just too chaotic. This, you feel like you have more control because you're able to bid on the drafting order, and it's cards on the table, literally and figuratively speaking, to see what's available each turn and each round as a whole. The biggest problem with this game right now, I'd say by far and away above everything else, is it's not available in the US. This game is another game that I ordered from overseas from a French game company in an English translation. It's just not available anywhere stateside. It's only been available for pre-order. And so unless you've gotten it from overseas at this point, you probably don't have a copy unless you've gotten it secondhand. But I believe there is plans for further distribution in 2021, and frankly speaking, again, this is one that should be on your radar if any of these things have sounded good in which I've said. A lot of games try to be unique, try to take a completely different spin on things, and some of them fail very dramatically. What I have seen recently, and what this game exemplifies to me, is it takes things that are known and things that are known together and puts its own twist on them instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. It takes the wheel and it makes a better wheel out of it in the first place. I have no qualms about telling you that this game is going to stay in my collection, and I would be lying if I didn't just look yesterday on whether or not I could get a copy of the expansion ordered overseas, and whether or not it'd be in French or English, and whether or not I could use it. So that's how much I like this game. I'm willing to go out there and potentially try and get one of the French versions of the expansion because it may not be available in English for 6 months or longer. That's how much I feel strongly about this game. This is, again, not going to be a game for everyone. But at the same time, I feel like it's a game that can very easily hit to the table in terms of a low complexity, but high replayability with high tactical maneuverability once everyone knows what they're doing. The smoothness in which this game operates, once people understand how to play, is ridiculous in a good way. So 2 things I forgot to mention that are really another standout element of this game is you can track what coins have been taken by other players without being able to peek at what coins they actually have in front of them and in their pile. And that is because they come with this little rack, and this little rack actually has numbers for everything that you need to see. And so the coins go in and out of there the whole time so that you can keep track of how many and what's left. And the nice thing is, actually, in this game, it gives a bonus to players. So remember that example I mentioned earlier, the 9 plus 5 being 14? Well, let's say the 14 is not available. You actually get to take the next higher one. So it behooves you to take advantage of that if you can. Oh, and you're probably wondering, well, Chris, you didn't address it. Well, what if I bid the same as somebody else? Well, that's where this comes in, is you have these special diamonds that everyone is given at the beginning of the game. And why do these matter? Because these are the tiebreakers. The highest one breaks the tie. Now you go, Chris, well, that seems very skewed. Why would you, how is that gonna, what happens is if you tie with somebody else and you win, you have to trade tiebreakers with them. So they're going to be higher than you next time no matter what. And so it's another balancing mechanism in order to, sort of keep a runaway leader from establishing themselves. You can even go insofar as to obtain a special upgraded diamond at the end of round 1, if that's your goal, that you keep so that you win all tiebreakers in the future. Another consideration, another element of strategy layered into this game. This game is not a coin flip. This game is a keeper. It's you got to check it out. If you see it on the secondary market, you should probably snatch it up because you might not get another chance if you're interested. So with that, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. Stay classy out there.